The little house perched at the edge of Austin, Texas, felt more like a shell than a home now. Every creak of the floorboards echoed emptiness, air once filled with Lily's laughter, and the hum of family life hung heavily, thick with worry. At the kitchen table, James Carter sat motionless, eyes fixed on a stack of unpaid bills. His fingers clenched so tight they turned white, and a long, tired sigh escaped him. It had been 2 years since Emily's accident took his wife, and every day had chipped away at his strength. But today felt different. Today was a moment he could almost taste, and yet it slipped through his fingers like dust. What could he do when every option seemed closed? In the next room, Lily lay curled under a soft blanket on the couch. Her skin, once rosy, now stretched so pale it looked translucent. "Roar!" She used to dart through the halls, giggling, the very picture of childhood joy. Now she struggled to lift her head. Beside her, Buddy the German Shepherd rested his heavy muzzle on her leg. He hadn't moved for days, his bright eyes dimmed by worry, his tail barely giving a flick. Something deep inside him knew this was no ordinary sickness. Lily wasn't just under the weather, she was slipping away, and Buddy felt it in every furred fibre of his being. Could his loyalty be enough to change their fate? James rubbed his eyes and glanced toward the photo of Emily, framed on the wall like a silent witness to his plight. He'd vowed to her on their wedding day to protect their daughter. Yet here he was, unable to pay for Lily's care or even put food on the table. His mechanic shop had closed, driving away his family's only income. A quiet whimper from Buddy made him look back. The dog nudged Lily's arm as though begging for some sign of life. Lily's eyelids fluttered open. With a voice softer than a breeze, she whispered, "You're always here, Buddy, aren't you?" The dog's ears rose and he licked her hand tenderly. Lily managed a weak smile, and for a flicker of a moment, James felt a spark of hope. But what hope could a tearful father and an exhausted dog truly hold? James's gaze drifted to yesterday's newspaper on the counter, its pages curled and yellowed. Then a headline stole his breath. A statewide dog training championship $50,000 grand prize. His heart pounded so fiercely he thought he'd hear it in his ears. Could this $50,000 would cover Lily's treatment, maybe even save their home? But could Buddy, his family dog with no formal training, stand against professional competitors? He stared at Buddy, who remained Vigil by Lily's side, every muscle taut with silent purpose. Was this their last best chance? That night, James gently shook Lily awake. She wiped at her eyes and looked up, confusion mingled with trust. "Sweetheart, I might have an idea," he said softly. Lily's brows knitted with curiosity. "There's a dog training contest," he continued, breath-catching. "The winner gets $50,000. If Buddy wins, we can save you." Lily's faint smile flickered. She lifted her tired eyes to Buddy, who seemed to understand. "Competition," she whispered. James knelt, taking her cold hand. "I don't know if he can beat those dogs," he admitted, voice trembling, "but I do know I believe in him and in us." Lily squeezed his hand and stroked Buddy's head. "I believe in him too." Buddy's tail gave a hopeful wag. Hope, fragile yet fierce, took root in their hearts. The next afternoon, James walked Buddy down the dusty lane to Mr. Parker's house. The old man had been a 9 trainer once, a master of his craft, before retirement claimed him. James knocked, palms sweaty. The door creaked open to reveal Mr. Parker's raised eyebrow and a hint of curiosity. James spilled out his plea. Lily was dying. Buddy might save her, and $50,000 could mean everything. Mr. Parker paused, eyes drifting to Buddy's patient stance. He knew that look, the look of a dog who would do anything for his human. With a slow exhale, he nodded. "All right, kid, let's get to work." And so their last chance began to take shape in a humble backyard. That backyard had never known such excitement. Wood planks and old tires became hurdles and tunnels. A wobbly plank propped against a barrel morphed into a teetering bridge. Buddy stood at the start line, ears erect, muscles coiled. James crouched before him. "This isn't playtime, Buddy. We have to win. For Lily. And for Lily." Buddy stared back, then pressed his head against James's chest in a gesture of boundless loyalty. Mr. Parker watched, murmuring, "He's not just loyal, he's got heart." The first run was rough. Buddy veered around the tunnel, hesitated before the hurdle, then skidded headlong. But every failure brought him back to Lily's soft voice from the porch. "Come on, Buddy. You can do it." And so, time after time, he tried again. Each attempt was proof that love can shape the impossible. Days passed in a blur of training. Buddy learned to jump just right, to dart through the tunnel, to balance on the wobbling bridge. After each session, he'd trudge over to Lily's porch and gently rest his head on her lap. She'd giggle, stroking his fur. "You're doing this for me, aren't you?" She'd ask, and Buddy would sigh, as if to say, "I won't stop." James watched from the doorway, throat tight with emotion. Here was a dog not just learning tricks, but fighting for a little girl's life. Their bond became a silent promise. They would not fail. Yet as Buddy grew stronger, Lily grew weaker. Her breaths became shallow, her smiles thinner. One morning, after a training run, James found her too faint to stay. He scooped her up and rushed her to the hospital, Buddy shadowing every step. Inside, the doctors delivered the verdict James feared. Lily needed advanced treatment now. James sat by her bedside, gripping her hand, while Buddy paced outside, whining softly. For 4 long hours, the dog stayed by the closed door, refusing to move. Staff whispered about the faithful guard whose loyalty would not let him stray. Love, they realized, knows no boundaries. That afternoon, a nurse, touched by Buddy's vigil, convinced the doctors to allow a brief reunion in the courtyard. They wheeled Lily out in a chair, bright sun overhead. Buddy bounded forward but halted halfway, sensing her fragility. He lowered himself and laid his head gently on her lap, eyes bright with relief. Lily leaned down, voice a soft breath. "Hey, Buddy." He lifted his head, pressed close, and seemed to drink in the fact that she was still there. James watched, tears in his eyes. Sometimes a single moment can carry a lifetime of hope. The day of the championship dawned crisp and clear. Lily remained in the hospital. James and Buddy arrived at the field alone. From the starting line, James whispered, "She's with us in spirit. We can do this." Buddy flicked his ears, braced his stance, and waited. When the whistle blew, mayhem erupted. Sleek competitors flew over hurdles, dashed through tunnels, gliding across obstacles. Buddy plunged in with every ounce of heart. He stumbled on a jump, losing precious seconds, but shook it off and sprinted ahead. At the final wall, towering and daunting, he paused, eyes blazing. Then, with a roar of effort, he leapt, claws finding purchase, paws slipping over the top, and dropped down the other side. The crowd exploded into cheers. Against all odds, love had carried him through. Clutching the giant check, James and Buddy raced back to the hospital, hearts pounding. At the front desk, James gasped, "We need to start treatment now." The nurse sprang into action, and within minutes Lily was whisked into a specialized care room. Buddy tried to follow, but was gently held back. He sat on the cold floor, ears pricked, eyes fixed on the door. James knelt beside him, whispering, "I wish you could go in, boy, but we have to wait." Hours crawled by. Then at last a doctor emerged, mask in hand, relief in his voice. "She's stable. She's going to be okay." James's legs nearly gave out, and tears streamed down his face. Their fight had reached its turning point. As if on cue, Buddy bolted past the doctor and into Lily's room. There she sat up, fragile but smiling, eyes full of wonder. Buddy sprang onto the bed, not with wild leaps but gentle steps, placing his head on her chest to hear her heartbeat. Lily wrapped her arms around his neck, tears of joy mingling with relief. "I missed you, Buddy," she whispered. He sighed deeply, eyes closing in contentment. Home was no longer a lonely house. It was right here, in this embrace. Recovery was slow but steady. Some days Lily could only sit up for a few moments. Others, she managed unsteady steps. Every triumph, no matter how small, sent Buddy's tail into a frantic wag. Nurses laughed as they called him the little bodyguard. Lily smiled, calling him my hero, and James, watching them both, felt the weight lift from his chest. When devotion stands firm, miracles follow. Finally, the day came when Lily could go home. But he hardly believed it. He bounced around James as Lily took her first unsteady steps onto the sunlit grass. Warm rays kissed her cheeks, and Buddy pressed his body close, as if to say, "I've got you." Lily laughed, the sound bright and free again. James watched from the porch, heart full, tears gleaming in his eyes. In that perfect moment, he understood that what saved Lily wasn't just the prize money or the training, it was the unbreakable bond of love. And together, they stepped into a new dawn, unafraid of any storm that might come.